it says in the Constitution, Section 1, Paragraph 8, shall promote the progress of science and the useful arts.
Yeah.
Along with everything else you got to do.
That's part of my constitutional duty.
It really is.
But you're right in terms of, and that's why I think it's so important for our political leaders to not just talk about STEM and education and talk about basic research in the abstract, but number one, fund it. So put your money where your mouth is. But number two, when you're making decisions around important issues, make sure that you take science seriously. I mean, when I see members of Congress being part of the climate denier clubs and basically stiff-arming what we know are facts, and not rebutting them with other facts, but rebutting them with anecdote or just being dismissive.
And I'm not a scientist, so therefore.
Or I'm not a scientist. Well, I'm not a scientist either, but I know a lot of scientists. I have the capacity to understand science. I have the capacity to look at facts and base my conclusions on evidence.
That's right.
And part of shifting our political culture, I think, is we've got to model for our kids that facts matter. Look at what's happening right now. Every serious scientist says we need to act. The Pentagon says it's a national security risk. Miami floods on a sunny day, and instead of doing anything about it, we've got elected officials throwing snowballs in the Senate.
Okay, I think I got it, bro.
It is crazy. What about our kids? What kind of stupid, short-sighted, irresponsible bull?
It's a battle with a demon. If it was easy, everyone would do it.
Get out there on Christian Mingle, create a profile, and start trolling.
No, I hope nobody has your back on this one. You sick bastard. We're practically NPR.
And welcome to Atheist Airwaves, episode number 84. I'm Christian Ferris.
I'm Heather Schafer.
I'm Ryan Trexler.
And I'm Petey, Alfaro.
We record live every Tuesday at 7:30 Central on Ustream.tv, so please join us in the chat room like the fine degenerates we have with us tonight. In fact, I've already been promised sex for the show, which is a good development.
It's a bonus.
Yeah, I like it. Our intro audio this week is a presidential mashup. President Obama sat down to chat with Bill Nye this week to talk about climate change. But I want to skip right over that to that speech he gave at the White House Correspondents' Dinner this week, because that is the most amazing thing I've ever seen a president do.
I loved it.
Never did I think I would see a president do what I don't know, a cameo version of being on a Comedy Central show.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what it was. I mean, it was like a Key and Peele sketch. It was freaking well done. I mean, every year, I think President Obama does a wonderful job at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. But this year, he just killed it.
I mean, his entire speech was really good. And a lot of it was, I don't know, there's the hashtag going around, bucket. Basically, I don't have anything else to run for, so I'm going to do all these things and bucket. I don't care. It's his bucket list.
He has a bucket list, but it's not a bucket list. It's a list that sounds like bucket.
Right?
Yeah, no, the whole thing was freaking gold. But so the tail end of the mashup that was our intro audio was a bit called Anger Translator. And if you haven't seen the whole thing, please get thee to YouTube. I've seen it like 20 times now. So the joke is that he was, his anger translator was supposed to be channeling his actual anger or whatever. But I kind of wish that our leaders would get this angry about this issue. We're killing ourselves. We know we're doing it. We have evidence of it. And, like the president said, they don't rebut any of it with facts. It's all anecdotes. And meanwhile, the ship is sinking.
What I loved about this was humor is a fantastic way to reach people. Everybody. You can reach people with humor on so many levels. And the science behind it, the science behind global warming, yes, I think anyone with half a brain can agree on that. What I took away from this, most importantly, was, and I don't think it was in this clip, but it was in the video, about reaching kids now before they're 10 years old. So important. so important. I think science, more than just giving them facts, teaches them how to think, not what to think. And I think it makes for more reasonable adults.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not just reasonable adults, but we'll get more scientists out of it. And we need more scientists. I mean, I know so many atheists in our local community here in Corpus Christi who kind of came to a love of science really late. And so, I mean, they can't really go back to school and study it. And they're like, if I had felt this way about it way back when, this is what I would have done with my life.
They need the exposure. Let's see, what was I looking at? Oh, the top 10 fastest occupations between 2008 and 2018 are all the STEM based, just like the science, technology, engineering and math based jobs.
Yeah, we've used up all the scientists that were inspired in the 60s and the 70s.
We need a new generation of
We need a new
scientists.
generation. We need inspired people. I love Bill Nye. And I mean, I think all basically grew up on him. I don't know, Christian's kind of old.
Are you kidding me, dude? Do you know how old Bill Nye the Science Guy is?
So we
He's
all
like
grew up.
5 years younger than Christian.
But we've used up that. It took me a second.
Yeah, it was a delayed reaction to the
But it was
slap
good,
at-
right?
But we've used up all those scientists, and there hasn't been a big push. There hasn't been that big. Maybe a little bit with Hubble. You know?
Well,
But
and
the
even that
space-
is like, pictures can only do so much. And in the conversation that the president had with Bill Nye, I mean, that was a big. I mean, Bill Nye kind of poo-pooed the space race because he's like, that's not inspiring anyone anymore.
Not
The
anymore.
race to the moon, it's over. I think our only hope is, Elon Musk of SpaceX, who is working. He thinks that he wants to have a Mars mission, SpaceX, in the 2020s, which is insanity. But if it was anyone else, I would say that's dumb and no, it's not going to happen. But seeing a person on the surface of Mars, that'd do it.
Now Musk wants to do. Does he want to do that privately, or is he pushing that? I did not know that.
He wants to do a private mission to Mars. And, I was just reading an article about this week because, or maybe it was on Quora, I don't remember. But someone who knows him, because someone asked, is he serious about this? Or is this just kind of like, he's talking pie in the sky? And they're like, you have no idea how much money he's already put into this, how many engineering hours they have devoted to this project. And so he wants to do this.
He's going to run out of people to continue the project.
Well, I find it interesting that at the last holiday that I got to spend with my niece and my nephew, they live in 2 different places.
Are they going to Mars?
I hope so. Because of both of them, I asked them, you do this little small talk, with your niece and nephew, and they're like, science is my favorite subject. And I found it really surprising, to where I was super excited, to where it's like, when they were talking about their science fair projects and these different things that they had to create and watch it grow and all that. So it's like, there could be hope, but at the same time, they need that push.
Yeah.
And it starts.
I'm a
from the
terrible
adults.
parent. I mean, Ryan can tell you, I get my kids like microscopes and science kits and stuff. I'm like, happy birthday. They're like, wah, wah, wah. And then you take them outside and you show them, you take the time to show them. And it's natural for kids to want to learn, to explore, to find out why. I mean, why all the time. And it's just, the younger, the better.
To start asking questions instead of just listening to. It's like,
Exactly. And it's so interactive, which holds their attention. It holds my attention. That's for sure.
Yeah, I do the same thing with my kids and my daughter this weekend. Everyone drink. She said, "Hey, Dad, can I get my chemistry kit out?" And I'm like, "Okay." And so she did, and she was off doing her thing. I was off doing my thing. And then she said, "Dad, there was an experiment where you could make your own soda. Come drink it."
You drink it. You have to drink it.
And you have to.
You drink it.
So what did it taste like?
It was like the worst thing I've ever had in my
Like
mouth.
liquid death.
The worst thing, really?
It was yes. And imagine the kinds of things I've had in
That's
my
what I'm
mouth.
saying. It's like, wow.
It was
Wow.
hideous. Actually, it's not the worst thing that my daughter has ever made me eat. So, 'cause when she's
Nina's a good kid.
she is. She cooked like something. I don't even know what it was. It's like hash browns and ketchup. And
It was dinner.
Yeah. But it's
You're welcome.
But I don't want to like crush her.
No, you can't discourage them.
Spirit, yeah.
You got to drink the shitty soda.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
got to.
It was awful. But I took one for the team.
No Crown. It's just a little whiskey in it.
Right. No, but here's the see. I'm an experienced at this point. So I took one and I drank the radioactive nonsense. I should have been around because it was a chemistry set. So I was like, a little bit of part of me was like, what kind of chemicals did you put in this?
I'm super impressed she made something radioactive right now.
She's like, we'd be gone. And
But she had 4 different ones that she had made. So after I drank the first one, I was like, why don't you try this? And so the tasting was done after she took a sip.
joke's on you.
Right. I getting back to the anger thing though, I really feel like that is the kind of discourse we need in this country. Give me a second, because what is that hissing sound suddenly? Oh, I bet it's this thing. Hold on.
There it is.
It is.
I thought it was normal. I didn't know.
Let's pause the show for a second, and I'm going to switch computers.
See, you're doing fine, yeah.
See, and like Josh and I experimented with this earlier, and
And it was fine. It was fine earlier.
Yeah.
Did you try wiggling it?
It's the fan. It's the fan because it's overheated.
Oh.
So.
Whoops, you need that to sit down. I got it.
Can you put this somewhere
Oh,
far,
I
far
told
away
you.
where it will not get destroyed?
Did you tell Kristen I said hi like I asked you to?
Or you can just say hi.
Hi, Kristen. She made her husband take the kids. Katie Scary in the chat room.
Why did she call herself Katie then?
It's her derby name. She and I used to play derby together, and her name
that's
was
awesome.
her name's Katy Perry, Katie Scary. And the thing about derby is you kind of do a play on words type name. That's also intimidating.
I can't wait to go to the next game.
Can I just say you look like a roller derby girl?
Really?
Yes.
Good.
Like,
Awesome. Thank you.
Ooh, yeah.
Thank you.
Like I can totally see it. Okay. So getting back to the anger thing, I feel like this is the kind of discourse we should be having, because it has gone on far too long that we have allowed morons to derail the conversation. People who literally have no argument. 150 years ago, we had a senator beat another senator almost to death on the Senate floor. I think we can deal with a little bit of harsh language out there.
I would like to see more passion.
Yeah.
A little being less afraid of stepping on people's toes. I mean, diplomacy only gets so much done.
Yeah, I think that we need to start treating really stupid ideas like they're really stupid ideas.
Well, it's the emotion behind the words instead of, you can talk like in monotone and, they're going to hear it, but are they really going to listen to you until you have the anger in your eyes and you're just on them and that's it.
And I'm not a giant Obama fanboy.
I'm not either.
I think it could be way more liberal. That would be awesome for me.
I agree.
But in the midterm elections, after the Republicans won a bunch of seats and took over the Senate, I said, if I was President Obama, I would throw a tantrum and veto everything that they send me and just lay into them with everything. And I just love that that's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah. I feel like we are playing politics with this thing overly much. And that not just the people who are the morons who are, saying, bringing snowballs onto the Senate floor. I mean, that's fucking dumb. But not just those guys, but their opponents. Most of them are, it feels to me, maybe I'm not being fair, but it feels to me like they're just trying to appease their base, who are people like me, who are like, this is a serious problem. We need to do something about it. Like, yes, serious problem. I want someone to say, this is some bullshit, man. That's what I want.
But they do think they have science, and they do think they have facts.
Do you really think they really believe that?
I do think they believe it because looking into all of this, I wanted to see what their facts and their science was behind it. So I started researching because you got to know who you're dealing with,
Know your enemy.
And exactly. And they think that. I mean, they don't have anything good, but they don't have, NASA kind of backs up our side of the argument, which is, pretty good there. We got some clout there with NASA, and they have someone who probably, graduated a community college and he doesn't think it is a thing. And they have lists of reasons why they think they have a thing.
I can only imagine the internet wormhole that you got into when you searched climate denier.
Yes, so much. Most of their stuff I noticed is only about, I would say at the most 10 to 15 years worth of data. That's it.
So they're looking at 1998 and going, well, it's not that much warmer than it was in 98.
That is exactly what they're doing.
All that other stuff is just bullshit.
Right.
It's not a big deal.
I feel like, so if you talk to the average Joe on the Corpus Christi street, I feel like he buys into it. Mm-hmm. But I think if we're talking about most politicians, this does not apply to teabaggers who, I don't know how anyone has elected these motherfuckers, but if you're talking about your run-of-the-mill Republican leadership, I feel like they're smart people. I feel like they're repeating talking points. They're trading in the planet and the species for political power and votes.
Yeah, Rick Scott, governor of Florida, he doesn't think that climate change isn't a thing, and you know that because he won't let people in Florida say climate change. If he thought he could defend it or defend his position, he wouldn't be saying, you're not allowed to say it or you'll lose your job kind of stuff.
You can tell what people are trying to hide by how they're trying to hide it.
Right.
So I just feel like I'm really afraid of the dog.
She's going to make it.
Yeah, right. This is such a serious issue. And, well, let me back up a little bit. Because the other thing is that there are people out there who, Republicans, who will agree that it is a thing. And they will say, but it's too expensive to fix it. And it will cost too many jobs. And it will be too horrible on the economy. And that it's much cheaper to deal with the fallout from this stuff.
Or that if only America does something about it, that's not enough of a dent, and we won't, we can't change it on our own.
And that's true,
Sure.
but I think that other countries, China specifically, has done a lot more on this than we have, and continue to do. And so I think these are the same mother who say that America needs to lead. It's like, great. Let's lead on climate.
It's like a short-sightedness. Like, they just think about now and, like you say, like the last 10 or 15 years. And it's like, oh, no, remember, it wasn't so bad. It's no big deal. And so it's like they think about here instead of thinking worldwide, like too many Americans do, instead of thinking about how we can actually
they're not looking
and change things.
They're not looking at the big picture. Mm-hmm. Looking at the last 10 years on a 4+ billion-year-old Earth is like turning on the heater in your house and 0.5 seconds later going, it's not hot in here. Heater's broken. Never going to get hot in here.
How sad is it that China, who developmentally is still decades behind where we are now, they have the technology, but developmentally with their roads and their infrastructure and that sort of thing, they're still decades behind. They're a huge country. But when they can say, look, in the next 5 years, we're going to quadruple the amount of solar energy that we're going to produce, and yet we're removing tax breaks and charging people extra for having solar panels on their roof. It's mind-boggling.
It is. All right, let's get off this topic because I'm afraid we're going to revisit it a little bit later. But we've got a few other things to get to before we get to news. Some serious, some not. Let's start with not. I first wanted to just mention an ad campaign that our local megachurch just launched because I swear religious people are so tone deaf. So there is now a giant billboard on SPID, and SPID is pretty much the busiest highway in Corpus Christi. That's where most of the traffic goes through. And all it says, it doesn't even tell you the church name. All it says is nom your mom. How did no one giggle in that meeting and someone say, what's so funny? I mean, how does that not happen?
What does it mean? Like, what are they getting at?
Okay, so it's not as funny as it sounds. I mean, to me, when I see nom your mom,
No, it's pretty funny.
Nom 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 nom.
in fact, that may just have to be the show title.
Yeah.
To me, okay, so we have a little bit of a conversation about it at the Atheist Airwaves Facebook page this week. And to me, I was just thinking incestuous oral sex.
With your mom.
With your mom, right.
Naturally.
Of course.
That would be the natural thing to think of. But some other, I think it was maybe Gilman, I'm not sure, but he was talking about maybe it says they save this placenta. Have you heard about people who do that? And then they eat the placenta?
Yeah.
So maybe that's what it is, and you nom your mom that way. But what it actually is, if you go to nomyourmom.com,
It exists.
I can't even with the
Hold on.
story.
I'm gonna go find that.
Yeah, it's nominate your mom for,
Being a great mom, celebrating Mother's Day that's
geez,
coming
that's
up.
what it is?
Yes,
Yeah.
Oh, no
yes.
fucking way.
Nom your
Oh.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed when I went to the
know, I'm
website
just like,
too.
what?
Yeah, what a waste of a great
glad.
website.
I'm glad I didn't get there. It's okay. Oh, shit.
when they let that expire, I'm snatching it up because there are some porno dollars to be made on nomyourmom.com. There is no doubt. But this is what happens when you let people who are sexually repressed do things. They don't make obvious connections. So here was the other thing that I was thinking this week. We're the normal ones, right? I mean, that's a normal thing to associate with nom your mom.
No, I have a related anecdote. There was a long time ago, so I won't be specific. They had some sort of community center on the local channel commercial at an old folks home, and it was about planting flowers to attract hummingbirds to your yard. But they said, come down and learn how to get hummers in your yard. And I was like, I'm there.
I'm so all about this. These are my people.
Oh, they get me. They know what I'm thinking.
I was like, finally, Corpus has something awesome to do. Yes.
They're just saying what we're all thinking.
And I always think, I just envision this room of people, much like us, sitting around, tossing ideas around, and everyone went, hummers in your yard, nom your mom. That's the one.
Just rolls right off the tongue, right?
Oh, it rhymes. Nom your mom.
.com.
Nomyourmom.com. Oh my.
It's got a rhythm, which is important when nomming.
Actually, there's something to like changing the. Okay. never mind.
Yeah, that's enough.
Okay.
The after show.
So we also got some listener mail this week that I wanted to address. The first one we got was from I don't know who, but he wrote in to tell us that he likes
Scott from Wisconsin.
No, this is a different one that I didn't put in the show sheet, but I just thought I'd mention
Sweet.
it.
Trick question, right?
Right?
Damn.
This listener wrote in to tell us that he likes the show 20 to 30% more since Jay left.
Oh, bringing it
And
back.
if you haven't been listening to since 2009, you probably won't get that joke, but it's totally funny. In fact, I think Heather might not get that joke.
I do not.
Okay. Well, way back in the day, Jay talked about having 20 to 30%
There was a lot of J penis talk.
Yeah, we were talking about his penis, and he said he had 20 to 30% less sensation in his penis, and that's been a joke since 2009. But anyway,
When you meet him, you should bring it up.
right.
Okay.
He likes it.
No, cool. Talk about it.
So I'm not just being mean to Jay because he specifically says it's not because Jay's gone, but just that it's a different show and he likes it better. Anyway, we also got listener mail from Scott from Wisconsin. So let me read the message he sent to us, and then I'm going to have people talk about what they think about what Scott said. Scott was calling in about an issue we talked about 2 shows ago. We were talking about the P.Z. Myers scandal, where he has been publicly disowned by Atheist Ireland. Scott writes, I wanted to chime in on the discussion about people wanting to distance themselves from the feminism label. I personally consider myself to hold feminist values. However, if I were in a discussion with someone and I saw any type of discrimination which would elicit me having to define my stance, I would rather use the term humanist. Humanist is an all-encompassing term. So while some people may draw the connection with the preference to using agnostic rather than atheist to soften the blow, I do not see them as equivalent. There has been damage done by a small vocal group of feminists going back decades and including but by no means limited to P.Z. Myers and those with FTB, which is Free Thought blogs. The term feminist meaning to many is the term feminist meaning to many is the opposite of the actual definition in very much a similar way as atheist to many means I hate God. To many, including my wife, feminists are people who hate men and want reparations for past wrongs. I should add that my wife and I do not share the same opinions on nearly any political or philosophical subject. I feel that using humanist as opposed to feminist sidesteps the issue while accomplishing the same goal of equal treatment for all. Many will say that in order to obtain equality for women, you need to redeem the term feminism, but I assume he means I do not feel this is true, but whatever. I am interested in hearing what your take is on this. Thanks, Scott from Wisconsin. So, first of all, I wanted to thank Scott for his calm, reasoned response. I don't think that's ever happened in the history of the internet. So, well done, Scott. I responded to his message directly, but I told him that we had a noob on the show, Heather, and that we tried to get a fresh perspective on it instead of our, group thing. So, what do you think about that, Heather?
I agree with him on a lot of points. Even though I know what the technical definition of feminist is, I'm not going to lie. When I think feminist, the visual I get is radical, liberal, militant, hairy-legged female that hates men.
Yeah.
That's the mental image I get, even though I would consider myself a feminist and not any of those things. Mm-hmm. So I wonder, do we take it back? Or kind of like the attitude of feminism has evolved. Do we adopt the term humanist?
So I have so many feels about this subject. So I think, first of all, I disagree with Scott that the reason that feminism has gotten a bad name is because of Free Thought blogs or P.Z. Myers. I really feel it's been driven by misogynists who have been very persistent in building this straw man feminist and making that a thing. And I feel like I understand why people being confronted by this, straw man, and because we all know feminist assholes, but we also all know atheist assholes, and no one is running from the atheist label. And I feel like that's because we don't have anyone who has been as effective as the misogynist movement in demonizing feminism the way,
Well, I think there's two reasons that the term is, disliked. Originally, yes, I think that it's intimidating to misogynists. They don't want it. It would be much easier to oppress women and keep us quiet, and the runners of the households and the doers of the laundry, and you could be a whore and a teacher back in the day. That was it. Whore, teacher, secretary. Those were your three jobs.
I have a preference, but okay.
We all know which one you'd be. But it changes the status quo, and I think that's definitely intimidating. I also think that people think it's overdoing it these days because there's no more sexism.
Oh, and they're saying the same thing about racism.
I know. And it's exhausting and stupid and makes me want to shut my head in a door. But nevertheless, I think it's those two are the main reasons. You have the people that don't think that sexism is a thing anymore, and you have the people that don't like that it changes the status quo and brings women up to be equal.
Yeah. We've got a really diverse array of opinions in the chat room, which I think is awesome. So I want to bring up Ustreamer 46411 in the chat room. I could literally just make up any numbers whatsoever at this point, right?
Ustreamer didn't want to make a name.
They know.
That's not my number. I'm 44361. Okay.
Those guys drive me crazy.
So that Ustreamer says, yes, we want equality for all people, but we're focusing on the inequality of women at the moment. And that's one of the things that really strikes me, is that if you are dodging the term feminist, you're also kind of glossing over the fact that that's the actual problem. It's not a human problem. We don't really have a problem with male equality. There are certainly issues that men have, but if you look at it globally and culturally, the equality problem we have is women, and I feel like it would be the same as, going back to what Matt Dillahunty said on our show a year ago, is that if I am concerned about slavery 150 years ago, I'm not calling myself a humanist, because the problem isn't with humans. The main problem that we need addressing is the black slavery thing. And so calling yourself a humanist is kind of dodging what the actual problem is, and you shouldn't run away from what the issue is, in my mind.
Yeah, if you're out there preaching for equality, if you don't acknowledge where the inequality is, then people are going to look at you and be like, what the hell are you talking about? And
without the specifics,
right,
nothing's going to change.
I don't like abandoning a term just because it's been like, and
because people don't like it.
Yeah, they don't like it. Like they hear, like Heather said, you hear feminist, and it does, and you get this straw man image. I've never met a feminist like that, and I'm super liberal. You would think I would have. I've never met somebody that was just, you get the standoffish idea and all that kind of. I've never met somebody like that.
I have online. In person, I have not.
Okay. So even though I can acknowledge that it's not a thing, I still think, and I think we need to take it back. I'm just going to stop there. I think we need to take it back and acknowledge that that's the problem, and that if we run away from the word, then we run away from the problem.
You can't let people who are opponents of your position define who you are. The second you start giving up your identity to those kinds of people, you will never stop running, because they will attack the next identity you have, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. So you can stop calling yourself an atheist and call yourself a secular humanist. When they come for the secular humanist, you can start calling yourself a bright or a free thinker. They're going to come for those too. So dig in and just say, no, this is what the issue is. This is what my identity is, period. Now, let me give a disagreeing opinion. Kitty Scary in the chat room says, they, meaning feminists, kind of lost me when I started seeing blogs by feminists basically saying that women that wear makeup or dress provocatively are being taken advantage of. It gave me the impression that they think that those girls are too dumb to be in on it. If they are choosing to make a living using their looks, that is their business, and you shouldn't put them down. And I totally agree with Kitty on that point. And I think that kind of goes to one of the things that Scott said, which was, to many, including my wife, feminists are people who hate men and want reparations for past wrongs. That's not feminism. And they're doing it wrong. I mean, if you look at atheism, there are atheists who say they believe in God. It's like, well, you're not an atheist, dude. You're doing it wrong. You were defining it incorrectly. And I think that you have to police your own, whether those are atheists or feminists. Okay.
Killed it.
The same thing happened. There was a time when feminists came out and were super anti-pornography, because they deemed it as exploitation of women, when in reality, a woman that wants to make her living doing pornography and can make a good living doing it and is super hot when she's naked on screen, that's awesome for everybody.
She doesn't have to be super hot, but if she's having a good time,
sure,
it's totally
whatever.
fine.
And so
you should see what he thinks is super hot.
Wah, wah. So
do I have a shot?
So
I don't think he'd nom his mom.
So you've got it. Oh, I'm completely derailed.
But at the same time, also some of the men out there may even think just because women are lesbians and they don't like men sexually, oh, they hate men.
Right.
So all of a sudden they get lumped into that category too. But that doesn't have anything to do with, they don't hate men, they're just not attracted to them.
Right.
So it's like, so what? That's not the issue here either. But backing off of the point of, oh, that they're going to all be, barbarians with armpit hair that runs down to their elbows or whatever. It's just like, that's not what it's about. Who cares? Even if they look like that, who cares? That's not the issue here. The issue is what they have to say and what they want to change.
Right. And I think that I have frequent disagreements with atheists. I have disagreements with feminists, especially TERFs. I have nothing.
What?
What's a turf?
They are people who basically they are
They're those people.
trans women, and they think that those are not real women. So
that's awful.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So
And
if
those
you
are-
gotta put on an hour of makeup in the morning just like I do, you earned it. Yeah, it's not easy. I don't care who you are. It's probably even harder if you're a
but
dude.
here's the thing. I can oppose societal rules that say you have to spend that hour in the morning while simultaneously saying you have every right to do it. I can say I oppose putting women in burqas while simultaneously saying if you choose to wear that, you have that right, because I don't get to tell you how to be a woman. And TERFs don't get to tell transsexual women that they're being women incorrectly. If you're going to, bang on, that's what I was going to say, but if you're going to criticize women who are strippers or sex workers of any kind, or women who choose to wear makeup or choose not to, or choose to shave body parts or choose not to shave, that you don't get to tell women how to be women.
No, you don't get to exchange one oppression for another.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
That doesn't define it. Like,
No. The feminist movement is choice.
Yes.
And you can't take it away on any level.
Right. So you can disagree with feminists and still call yourself a feminist. In fact, I would just say, even if you want to, so A, take one for the team, but B, you can append your statement when you have to tell someone that you're a feminist. You can just tell them, I'm not an asshole, but I am a feminist. If that makes you feel better, go ahead and do it. But I think running away from the term is counterproductive. I think it hurts women in the long run because the conversation becomes about the word instead of what it needs to be about, which is the issues. So please disagree with atheists. Please disagree with feminists. Do it in a respectful way, and don't try and dismantle people's identities. That's my thing. So thanks for writing, Scott. I appreciate that you did it, and I appreciate that there was no firestorm of atheist destruction over this whole thing. If you out there would like to write to us and wreak a firestorm of atheist destruction, or give us a high five, a compliment, we like those too. You can write to us at god@atheistairwaves.com or leave a message on atheistairwaves.com or come yell at us on our Facebook page, or you can tweet at us at Atheist Airwaves. So many ways you can abuse and destroy us.
Bring it on.
Which we're much more used to than compliments.
I know, right? So it's like,
we probably wouldn't know what to do if you were like, good job, guys.
That was a great point.
We'd be like, you know what?
And fuck you. Okay. Corpus Christi Atheist meets every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. This weekend we will be meeting at B&J's Pizza just east of Airline and SPID, right under the Nom Your Mom sign. So,
I'm so excited. I get to see it.
If you don't know what that is, visit ccatheist.com for a list of our public events. If you're interested in connecting with our affiliates, visit southtexascor.com to connect with any of our sister organizations. We were talking before the show that we pretty much couldn't have a show and not talk about what's going on in Baltimore right now, which is in no way special or isolated. It's a repeat of a pattern that we've been seeing over and over again. I mean, increasingly lately, but for decades and decades. For those of you who are not Americans, I'll give you a quick catch up on the whole thing. On April 19th, Freddie Gray, an African-American, was arrested by police and put into a police vehicle. By the time he arrived at the police station, he couldn't talk or breathe, and he died a short time later from a severe spinal cord injury that he suffered while in police custody. This week, largely peaceful protests exploded into violence, with police being hospitalized. Did anyone hear what? There was one guy that kept saying was unresponsive, and I haven't heard anything about him.
I never got what was up or whatever.
We watched the press conferences today, they talked about one guy that they kept overnight, and I believe that was the same guy. But whatever it was, they kept going back and forth between unresponsive and unconscious, which are not the same thing. So, but that was the only thing that I saw about anybody that was even kept overnight.
Okay.
Yeah.
So nothing too serious. I think some people broke a bone or two or something.
Yeah, and a lot of bruises and abrasions.
Yeah.
There was brick throwing and beer bottle throwing, and yeah.
And the police were throwing, and there's video of the police throwing rocks back at it's like, dudes, what are you doing? This is, I mean, that makes sense if you're just a guy, but if you're the police, you kind of have a higher expectation of performance.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they burned homes. The rioters burned homes. They burned businesses. There's video of a guy while the fire department is putting out the fire on a business. He's cutting through the fire hose so that they can't get. Well, it's not funny, but
It's not. It's not.
It's not. But I mean, that's what he's doing. Is he's cutting through the fire hose so they can't put the fire out. On and on and on. What is everyone's thoughts about what's going on right now?
I think it's a necessary evil. For things to actually change, for something to actually happen, you can only say something so many times. And if nothing happens, nothing changes, they don't react different, they don't act different, even without a reaction, just being themselves, being proper authorities, shit's gonna happen. And sometimes that's what it takes to make change.
It's back to the getting angry thing. Sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. For how long have we been, trying to get rid of racism and no, and we don't like it. And you know what? Eventually you just have to get really, really mad. And I think it was something that they deal with more consistently and they were louder about dealing with, then accidents are going to happen. And
Sure. But not one a day.
No. And I think when it did happen, they would be more likely to be forgiven if they were out there saying, we're doing things about our police force. We're doing things about this. We're doing things about that. People aren't getting shot, and then investigations aren't taking 6 weeks until they kind of dwindle off. Nobody's talking about them anymore.
Yeah. You forget about the ones in St. Louis. You forget about the one in New York City. And now it's all of a sudden, it's Baltimore. What happened in Baltimore? What's going on in Baltimore? And it's just like, this is too many times that are making huge media, the Trayvon Martin, just being, an African-American kid, just all these things are just lining up towards it's chaos.
Yeah.
Rioting in Baltimore is not just about one guy dying in police.
Exactly.
It is systemic and pattern racism or poor treatment of poor or all of these problems of which nothing is being addressed. And I just saw today in Texas, there was a person who was killed by police. He was wielding a screwdriver.
I saw that video.
And there's been no indictment of the police. So just today, cleared of all charges. We investigated ourselves and we didn't do anything wrong.
You would think people at that kind of level of authority should be able to handle hand-on-hand combat where nobody gets killed.
Right.
Oh my gosh, I was so mad
Take out
today.
his leg.
They were demanding justice.
Whoa. I gotta, sorry. Hang on to your thought, Heather, because I gotta take issue with that.
If there's, I didn't mean literally his leg, but if there's a way to take him down and subdue him without actually having a fatality,
I
then
hear a
something
lot.
needs
Why don't they just shoot him in the leg or shoot him in the arm? And the reason is if you're pulling your weapon, you ought to be trying to kill someone. You should not be drawing down on someone that you don't intend to kill. If you are going to get into a fight, you should get into a fight. You should not be pulling your weapon in that case. So if you are going to fire your weapon, it should be center mass. It should be, trying to kill the person. I just feel like the situations that these officers are choosing to use that force is ridiculous. There are 500, I think I read today, 500 African Americans die a year who are unarmed and they are shot by police.
This is why we invest millions and millions of dollars in non-lethal restraint
and that's
and technology.
what I meant. Sorry, I said take out a leg.
Yeah.
But
you can take out a leg with a nightstick.
Yes,
or a taser.
And that's a very good point too. So that it was.
And the guy here in Texas with the screwdriver, I feel like they felt like they had an excuse. Oh, I can shoot this guy now.
Yep.
Yeah. They could have backed off, and I don't know. And let me argue the police side for just a second. Has anyone seen the video of the guy trying to commit suicide by cop, and the cop just keeps backing up and backing up and backing up and won't shoot him?
No, I have not seen that.
You should.
I've
No.
heard of these things.
That's something I should see.
It's a white dude, but so
Yeah.
take that for what you will. But I mean,
explains it.
literally, the guy's like, "I'm coming." I forget what he's holding, but he's like, he's got his hand in his pocket, and he won't take his hand out of his pocket. And he's like, "You better shoot me! You better shoot me!" And the cop is just like, "No, no, no." Eventually, the guy actually tackles the cop. The cop still doesn't shoot him. Finally, gets up, and the guy just gets on the ground, and they handcuff him. That cop was dumb.
Right.
You know, if you have your gun out and that guy tackles you, you are stupid if you have not taken action of some kind. That guy should have done something. But then you contrast that with a cop like the guy who shot that guy in the back and was running away. And I think
Yeah.
we have a police problem. And going back to something that Petey was saying, I think, was this has been going on forever. And the people who are saying, well, why can't you just, violence isn't the answer and just solve your problems, blah, blah, blah. The not only has the problem not been solved, no one's trying to solve it. So at this point, I don't even feel comfortable criticizing rioters for doing this crap, because what else are you going to do?
You can only ask politely for police to stop killing you for so long.
And then you have to do something else.
Yeah.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So I feel, unfortunately, that in this country, it has to fracture completely before something is actually done. The police are invested in protecting themselves and protecting their culture, which is practically broken. No one is motivated to do anything because the electorate is fractured on this. Half the people are saying, goddamn whatever, and half the electorate is like frickin' police. So until there is something serious in this country, like tens and tens of thousands of people destroying an entire city, nothing's going to change. And that's coming. I swear that is going to happen because no one is listening and no one is acting.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I don't like to say things like that because I don't want to be, a doomsayer saying, well, it's coming and they're going to, people are going to rise up. And that's not what I mean, but it's kind of what you mean. And you can only stomp on people for so long. They'll only take it for so long.
They've been taking it for a long time too.
Yeah.
To be fair,
A long time.
A long time.
I mean, people were abused and, didn't have a 40-hour work week way back when. It wasn't a quiet, let's all sign a petition and we're going to get this changed.
people
And we're
died.
gonna,
Right.
And we're going to have a 40-hour work week and kids are going to stop working when they're 5 years old. A lot of shit went down back then. And now with actually violence that's inciting other chaos to where it has to happen.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but it...
Go to the birth of this country where we fought an entire war over taxes. Taxes. That was why we fought an entire war. That's why people were fighting, dying, setting things on fire, and no one looks at what we term patriots and say, "Goddamn thugs."
People like their paid holidays, they like their Saturday and Sunday.
They were already today demanding justice for the people who were looting and rioting. They were demanding justice for the arsons the next fucking day. And I was like,
What about the police?
Right?
Yeah.
And they were taking these tones that were so passionate, when they were like, these weren't children. And even if they were children and they were looting, they're 15, 16, 17 years old. They're old enough to know better. I'm like, okay, well, what if we took that tone and said something like, these are fucking police and they shouldn't be beating the shit out of people with screwdrivers and pocket knives.
They have handcuffs on. I don't think you should be dead.
Right.
Yes.
What can he do?
Right.
But here's why one, in my mind, besides race, one gets more negative attention than the other, because when a police officer kills a person, it's done. It's over. And these riots, all taking place all over the country, they go on and on and on.
They
And
also cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that's what gets people's fucking attention is when you start costing them money.
That's a good point. And I mean, people can relate. You know, your average American can relate to being stolen from, to having someone mess up your stuff. Most Americans can't,
Sorry.
most Americans can't relate to being abused by police. And it's systemic. It's a huge problem, and it's a police problem. Our culture has to change around law enforcement and the justice system in general, I think.
Just to kind of tie like the science teachers and how we need to inspire young students and police. This weekend we had a party, and so there was a teacher there, and we were joking around, and I was like, yeah, I trust teachers as much as I trust cops. And we're just laughing about it all weekend. It was kind of really funny. Just kind of brings them both together.
Any last thoughts before we move on to actual news?
That's news.
That's totally news.
That is news.
That,
Okay.
That's the most news thing we had going on
I know,
today.
right?
But it's not news. So there's a difference.
We'll talk about that post show.
You're going to define news for us?
Speaking of post show, I'm gonna ask you guys about handling theists dying. So get ready for that.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah. All right. So
Can I pee first? Post show.
Oh, yeah, we
Before
have a
pushing
pre-break.
that, yes.
We totally have a pre-break.
all right. So this first story, second story, whatever. This is probably the most important story we've ever covered on Atheist Airwaves. The global community was rocked this week when it was widely reported that El Asira would be opening a halal sex shop in Mecca. You know, it's looking about if this Hajj is rocking, don't come a knocking kind of thing. So before any of our many Muslim listeners get excited, the owner of the online sex shop said that they won't be selling sex toys or porn, but rather unspecified things to, quote, increase feelings of sensuality and to improve the atmosphere between the couple.
They open one of those in Corpus Christi about every 5 years.
You got the dog excited.
Go on, Ryan.
No, I didn't have... I just opened a webpage. I thought that might have been me.
This is so boring. I mean, like, basically they're opening a Scentsy shop, right?
It's like, it's so cute. Like, oh, you're going to have like candles and lotions. That's like Bath and Body Works, right?
Excuse me, sir. I'm going to be having sex. Can we have something that smells good for that? I mean,
They actually have lots of sex shops in Saudi Arabia.
yeah,
Lots.
I read that.
Yeah.
Like,
I was surprised. I was.
although,
They're all run by men.
Of course.
All of them.
well, everything's run by men. Women can't even drive in Saudi Arabia.
No, they're bank managers. They're super educated. They have PhDs. That's not entirely true.
But they just barely got the right to vote. They just barely started driving. It's just
Right.
absurd.
No, there's a lot of things that they're not allowed to
But
do. I
it's
get
just
that,
like,
but it's unfortunately at this point it's baby steps.
I was super surprised this week as a result of this article to learn that Victoria's Secret is a big thing in Saudi Arabia. I can't believe that that's a thing that happens.
Under that, whatever.
But they
Everyone's the
Well, you can wear
same when the
whatever you
lights are
want,
off.
yeah.
I don't
Under-
care what
under-
country you're in. I don't care what religion you believe in. Everyone's the same when the lights are off.
I don't know,
Yeah.
because these people are so sexually repressed. I feel like what happens when the lights are off, you don't even fucking want to know.
It just sounds
That
not.
they're so repressed, and that it's like such a release valve. It's like, oh, I can finally do everything I wanted to freaking do to. I feel like it's scary. I feel like it would be. That it's not about a healthy sexual relationship. And we're going to be talking a little bit about this later with a different story, but I feel like anytime you are sexually repressing people, you're going to end up with some weird shit.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and say that I kind of feel that way too, but I don't really have anything to back that up with. So
It's kind of a-
it kind of seems logical to me. I mean, hey, why not? And the ideas put in your head, you know, from a couple serial killers and stuff like that. But is that what it was? Sensationalized serial killers? Is that what put it in our head? Because I don't really have anything to base that assumption on.
So the other thing that was really kind of weird to me was that, you know, and I think it's kind of telling also, is that they're calling this a halal sex shop. And halal refers to meat and making sure it's okay for Muslims to eat it. I don't need to even Ferris that joke, right? I mean, yeah. So, I mean, that's so putting aside that it's a Sensi shop, they're talking about making the meat okay for Muslims to eat.
Nomyourhalal.com.
Somebody write that down. We need it.
Yeah, that's totally it. Let's talk about. So we've picked on some Muslims for sexual repression. Let's pick on the Catholics.
So in the UK, students at a Catholic girls' school have been warned that sex outside marriage can destroy their soul and make their bodies sick. Oh.
Yeah, right.
The warnings were handed out to 17 and 18-year-olds during a sixth forum talk. A Coloma.
I don't even know what the hell that is, but okay.
I had to look it up.
Oh, you actually looked it up. I was just like, I don't know what that is, and I don't care.
At Coloma Convent Girls' School in Shirley.
Convent Girls' School, yeah.
Croydon in the UK. So like sixth form is like kind of like their like accelerated program. I even like looked at the curriculum and everything.
The super Catholics.
Yes, it's like they're like these are like the smartest students. They go to like these deep discussions, I guess, and so it's like the higher learning for them, like the talented and gifted sort of, which is kind of really weird.
Right.
So at that school, they have a class that's PSHE, what's personal, social, and health education. So in this class, they were handing out these leaflets that warned condoms and the morning after pill put people at risk and made them isolated. I don't know how.
But
I don't know why.
Yeah, that's the thing that was
Like,
most for me. It's like, okay, it's destroying your soul. Exactly
What?
why and how?
That part doesn't even bother me.
It just
It doesn't
sounds
bother
weird.
me that they say that, oh, it's destroying your soul. Why? Because it's what their religion believes. You know what?
That
Fine.
doesn't bother you?
No, it doesn't bother me because it's a Catholic school and you're going to expect it.
They're minors.
What
Yes,
bothers?
children.
You're like brainwashing them.
Their
at a
parents
young-
know what they're putting them into.
It doesn't matter.
I'm disturbed that their parents would do that
Yes,
to them.
it's the fact that they're being brainwashed
I don't think
and
we
it's
should
scaring them. It's a
do
scare tactic.
anything about that. I don't think it's our business to do anything about that. What I think it's our business to do is make sure that they're learning the facts scientifically about this medical issue.
See, but the problem is they're not. That's the problem.
That's the problem. Yes.
And I could not disagree with you more because I feel like they have every right to teach them nonsense in their little private Catholic school. I am horrified at what they choose to teach them. What they're teaching them is what horrifies me.
No, it horrifies me too. I just don't think that anyone has a right to do anything about it.
Well, see, that's why things don't change. That's why it's like, no, this is not okay.
So, I mean, I get what you're saying, and I'm going to kind of straddle the fence here because I think, yes, religious freedom should be a thing. However, where do you draw the line? I mean, and we do draw lines.
Yes, absolutely.
And so when we know that this is a harmful thing to teach people, that this is psychologically harmful, that kind of strays into child abuse. And it's not just about you must not have sex, because that's one thing. But demonizing it the way these people are is something totally different.
The leaflet was named the Single Catholic's Guide and was handed out by an international Catholic movement called Pure in Heart UK. So it's that much of a brainwashing like entity thing that they're just doing to these kids instead of science-based facts that you're talking.
Did anyone read the meme that this group posted that was out there?
I didn't see it.
It is so super creepy. Let me read this meme. It's like it's a picture with words. The words say, "God longs for me. He presses on my heart with a tender, humble hunger for me. He wants to possess me. When I let him, it is prayer." That creeps me out.
Again, it's not what you say, it's how you say it, isn't it? Jeez.
When you read it like that.
Are you
You
kidding?
feel so dirty.
What other way is there to read that? I mean, really. There are alumni of this school who are freaking out and speaking out. An alum of the school, 21-year-old Emily Boris, said that she can remember being scared during school talks about chastity and sexually transmitted diseases, that she was told that you could regain your virginity
That's not a thing.
Okay, you're right.
The fact that they told him about STD is good.
Yeah.
But you can
No.
regain your virginity.
No, it's not good because what they're using the STD thing is as a whip to keep them from having sex. It's like if you have sex, you will get this. You will either get pregnant or you will get an STD. 100% of the time. That's what's going to happen.
It's 1 in 6.
Well, right, but this is what they do. At least this is what they do in the United States. Okay, so what Petey's talking about is that the other little thing that they did is they had everyone roll a die, and if you rolled a 6, you were pregnant. But what they do in this country, these kinds of people, is that they keep doing it until everyone's pregnant or everyone has an STD. It's not 1 in 6 in the classroom. Everybody ends up with either herpes or a kid. I mean, that's what they tell you.
If you have sex as a teenager before 18 years old, you have a 30% chance of getting herpes. Between the ages of 14 and 18, I think, or 12 and 18.
See, we can attribute a lot of that to crappy abstinence-only education where they're not given the information that they require, and therefore they're not wearing condoms and avoiding getting
I
herpes.
completely agree with you there. I completely agree with all of that. They should get all of the information, especially in the age of information. So at least take this opportunity to give them the information the way you want it to be presented. Otherwise, they're going to get it, who knows, without a filter, with, misinformation, misrepresentation of information. So give them all the medical information, and then at the end of the class, if you want to say, and sex will kill your soul, you know what? Fine. But make sure they have all the medical facts on a medical situation. That should be a standard.
Yes. And this is not just something that you need to worry about if you're a Catholic. This is something you have to worry about if you're from Texas.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
And school district to school district, some of this crap is going on in Texas public schools. This is what they're doing. So you need to get involved if you're here in Texas or any backward state.
According to the Kaiser Foundation, 86% of parents agree with the comprehensive education of sex education, and only 66% of the schools do it. Only 66% of the schools teach comprehensive sex education.
It didn't make the show this week, but there was a story about a woman live blogging her child's sex education class. And they tell stories about an entire box of condoms that all failed. And
They all had holes in them.
Yeah, they all
Every
had-
single one. That's the thing that happens.
Yeah, so this is the kind and that's the problem. That's the scare tactic.
That is the
doesn't
problem.
work. Yeah.
That's the problem. They're not teaching the facts. As long as the facts are there, I'm for whatever else they want to supplement the class with.
But here's what they're
like hell.
This is what they're so I mean what a lot of kids take away from that, because kids want to have sex. I was a kid once, I wanted to have sex. What they're taking away from things like that is not, we should use something else. It's we should just not use condoms because why bother? I mean, that's
it's
the
not going to
lesson.
work anyway.
Right.
What's the big deal?
They all have holes in them, so and this is why we have, a huge teen pregnancy rate in Texas. This is why we have the
highest, right?
We're number one.
Yeah. So I mean, this it's a complicated issue because it's all wrapped up in religious freedom and stuff like that, which I do believe in. I do believe that you should be free to believe whatever you want, but there are lines. You should not be able to kill your child. You should not be able to scar or.
That's mental abuse.
I guess I take more leniency with it, especially because it's a private Catholic school. If this were a public school, I'd be like, fuck that shit.
Well, I mean,
but it's a private Catholic school. Their parents know that sex kills their soul. They know.
Yeah, I agree with you insofar as I'm cool because my kids will never go to a Catholic school. But at the same time, I don't think Catholics should have the right to abuse their children. And where that line gets drawn is a little murky, but I don't know. I'm awfully close to saying you should not be allowed to scar your children in this way.
Does that mean that lasts forever? It's not going away anytime soon.
I'm so far in that direction that I think scaring children with the threat of hell is child abuse. Like, you tell a story about, well, you do wrong and God will send you to hell. That to me is child abuse. Now, people might come down differently than that. I get that. I'm kind of extreme with that view, but it's still wrong. Whether
Yeah.
just because they're their parents. And don't get me wrong, parents get have a lot of rights, should have a lot of rights, but there are times, and wherever you want to draw the line, but there are times when you say no, even though you're their parent, you can't do that to them.
Yeah. There needs to be a line. Let's close this out. Katie Scary in the chat room gave me a wonderful mental image of Oprah in the classroom saying, "And you get an STD, and you get an STD, you get a Rugrats." That's awesome.
Right, they're just sitting there. Oh, give me a baby, give me a baby, give me a baby. Not the STD.
No herpes. No herpes. Stop. All right, let's move on. Probably everyone will remember the Oregon Bakery sweet cakes by Melissa, and her name's not even Melissa, right?
It's not. I don't know what her name is.
So what the
but it's not
fuck is?
Melissa.
Okay.
It's all a sham.
Everything Christians say are a lie. So they're the ones who were sued after refusing to bake a wedding cake for a lesbian couple and quoting Leviticus at them at the time, which is, why would you quote Leviticus for anything?
That's just opening yourself up.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, I mean, this is seriously, like, please, Christians, when you're talking to me, start quoting Leviticus, because then it's just like, oh, you're done. So in the aftermath of the case, one of the women received death threats from Christians, and she actually had her home address posted on this bakery's website so that people could follow through on these death threats. This week, sweet... Is that funny?
Yes.
This week, sweet justice was served as the judge handed down a decision awarding the couple $75,000 and an additional $60,000 in damages for emotional suffering. That figure will now be reviewed by the state labor commissioner, who could actually increase that amount to $150,000 total. So it totally does not pay to be a religious bigot in Oregon. These bigots had a plan, though. And as soon as the six-figure award was announced, they launched a GoFundMe page to try and duplicate that magic that the pizzeria people did. They raised almost like $1 million, right?
The GoFundMe genie only works once.
Yeah, right.
No.
Yeah, that door has closed. But they did raise almost over $20,000 in just 4 hours before GoFundMe said, nope, the genie has left the building. So GoFundMe is now saying that their policy is if you have committed a crime, that you are not allowed to fundraise around your crime, which I think is a good policy.
That's fair. That's fair.
Okay. So I love the fact that they shut it down. They said that their policy that if you're convicted of breaking the law, I think is how they worded it. I don't know if they used crime, because basically,
right.
So
is that criminal?
Right.
Right.
So what then you have is, and then you have people saying, well, this guy's looking for money for a lawyer to appeal his court case, and now that's not okay, according to GoFundMe. So I love the fact that they shut them down. I think it's awesome. I don't think you should be able to, e-beg to pay your lawsuits. I think e-begging in general is okay. I don't think you should be able to do so to, pay off court fines. But I'm interested to see how well GoFundMe, or how much they enforce this new rule, because up until now, I didn't know GoFundMe had rules. I thought
whatever you want to do is cool.
Yeah, I didn't know they had rules. So we'll see how consistent they are.
Katie Scary in the chat room says, ha 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 ha. I saw a picture of that lady crying, and all I could think was, would have been cheaper just to make the cake, huh? I have to say that video of her, that was at the Values Voters Summit, which is a shit, like the shittiest Republicans, they go to this thing. These
Sounds
are the
like
people,
a hoot.
Yeah. They're the ones who hate gay people and women and all that stuff. But I just love just delicious bigot tears flowing down her, like talking about, I love to make cakes.
You know what bothers me is the the hypocrisy of it all. Do you think they go in to get their brakes changed and go, you guy who's about to change my brakes and do a service I need, have you ever have you ever committed a mortal sin or done something that doesn't align with my beliefs, or else I'm not going to let you service me.
Right. And
that's not a thing they do. I never hear about that.
There's over 100 laws in Leviticus, and like most 99% of them are freaking ridiculous, and no one lives by them.
Like you couldn't get through breakfast without breaking 5 of them. Yeah.
You couldn't get dressed in the morning without being condemned to hell. They don't give a shit about that stuff. They just cherry pick they hate. They think gay people are icky, and so they cherry pick that shit. And exactly right. They don't give a goddamn about anything else. That's like, I just want to hate on gay people and get out of my way. A Facebook user posted a good point on their wall. Teresa Mitchell, who everyone should go like friend her and stuff and freak her out. She wrote, "Wait, so it was okay for you to refuse service to someone because you didn't agree with how they wanted to use your product, but it's not okay for GoFundMe to do the exact same thing?" And in fact, I mean, you're allowed to discriminate against bigots. I mean, you can say you're a racist, you're a homophobe, I won't serve you. There's no law saying that you can't do that.
No, that's not a protected class of citizen. Yeah, you
That's
choose to
because
be a
it's a
bigot.
choice. You can choose to be a bigot, you can choose not to be a bigot.
Exactly. And to be honest with you, even if they found a bigot gene and they had no choice, still get the fuck out of mine. Get the fuck out of here. I don't care about you.
Even if you have to be a bigot, you don't have to be an asshole about it.
Yeah, exactly. So before we move on, I wanted to remind everyone of some upcoming events. On June 15th, we have Chris Johnson coming in. He is the writer of the book A Better Life and the director and producer of the film, the documentary A Better Life. So this is about atheism and finding joy and meaning in a world without God. So that will be June 15th. It's a Monday evening at the Unitarian Church here in town on Holly. So please come out for that. That's really the only thing that's coming up. If you'd like to support our show, and sometime when Ustream stops messing with us, we will start posting the post shows again. But patreon.com/Atheist Airwaves if you would like to support what we do. And I don't know why you'd want to do that, but
It's because we're very, very good looking.
Some of us are good looking. I look like this.
We should have like a hosts of Atheist Airwaves calendar.
Oh, a calendar.
That would be so awesome.
And we should pay people to look at it. So this weekend we actually had the bowl-a-thon. How was that, Petey? You were one of the 4 people who went to that.
It was a lot of fun. We did the Lilith Bowl-a-thon in Austin. They had it in several cities in the state of Texas. They did it in El Paso, San Antonio, the RGV, and Houston. The Lilith Fund for the state of Texas actually raised over $75,000 to help fund abortions and to help man the staff and all the things that they do, which is super, super awesome. Austin, that we were a part of, actually raised $46,000 alone.
Wow.
It was the biggest one out of all of them, obviously.
Austin is like the liberal Mecca of Texas, so that doesn't really surprise me, but okay.
It's that pale blue dot.
Yes, in the state of Texas. And their original goal was $36,000, so we totally blew that shit out of the water.
Nice.
And the National Network of Abortion Funds, national-wide, they're $5,000 short of their $700,000 goal.
What's wrong with those guys?
I know. But
They ain't blowing shit out of the water.
Texas got our shit together. What's up?
it all goes to the same place.
Do we have our shit together?
It all goes to the same place, and you can actually still donate through the end of the month if you still want to. We're uteruses before deuteruses.
How much did you guys raise?
Our initial goal was $1,000. We actually raised $1,330.
Wow.
Turpin did raise the most. I'm going to say she
Of
didn't.
course she did.
She did over $600. And then
Well, I hear she didn't do much bowling.
No, she did not. She had a little bit of car trouble. She showed up. It's cool. We did all right. Jordan and I both bowled very, very well. Jordan, the first game, while she was still warming up, after I had several beers. The second game, I rocked hard.
Oh, yeah.
After it's I need to drink more. That's right. Pretty much doubled my score in the second game.
Nice.
Yeah, I do the same thing with driving.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I don't.
That's so bad.
That's a thing that people say, though, right?
And the most important thing of the weekend, we won best costume.
Woo!
We
Those vests were amazing.
Amanda Stevens did a fucking amazing job. I mean, beyond fucking amazing. We were the
Pawnee
goddesses from Parks and Rec.
How do I know more about what you were doing than you do?
Because I've never seen Parks and Rec.
I haven't either. So, but I read things and I retain the knowledge. But I dropped the chemo bags off with Amanda because like my wife was like, if you don't get these things out of my goddamn house, I'm gonna kill you. But she showed me the vest and I was like, that is freaking amazing. She did a great job.
She started on Friday and she had 3 vests there, and I forgot mine, but I have this awesome T-shirt from the event. So they're purple vests with the patches and the little signet or whatever logo from the show. Was pretty fucking awesome. So everybody was super excited that we were there, and it was a big hit, and everybody liked it. There was about 75 bowlers there in Austin from all different ages, all different sexes, all different races, and to where it was just about supporting the cause. It's not a young white trash, for not a better word, it's not just a single thing, poor neighborhoods, everybody is affected by this cause. When getting involved in it, I read a lot of different stories from women who have actually utilized the fund to help themselves because they were in bad situations. I mean, they ranged from, middle to older age women, that are living with their family, that have 2 kids already, that are in an abusive relationship. So, and when you're married, sometimes it happens, and to where they knew that it wasn't the right time to bring another child into the world in their relation. There was other ones that were, military veterans that, come back with PSTD and
PTSD.
That one. That's the one.
Sorry.
Like those letters go in some order.
We know what
Those
you
ones.
meant.
Okay.
He's just being pedant.
No.
Go on,
Good.
Petey.
Very good. Thank you so much. You know what I'm saying.
I love having her on the show. No one treats me like this on this show. And I begged people to do that. And she's the only one who ever has.
Petey.
Stop talking. Okay. So, they come back, they're dealing with so many different things. They already have a child, their relationship kind of goes to shit because, they're going through a lot of shit at the same time.
Shit happens and it's a bad time. Happens to everybody.
It doesn't matter,
It's never happened to me.
Oh, for real? Fuck off. But, to her, I'm trying to say something important for
I'm
the first
so
time
sorry.
ever on the show. And
Reach
so
over and turn off his fucking mic.
start unplugging things.
I'm just going to mute myself. Okay, you go ahead.
To her, it's women of all different things, and of course, there are teenage girls, that do need it too. But at the same time, it just affects so many different people that it really is a good plan. And just, I have so many different family members on my Facebook that are looking at me like, you fucking asshole, how can you do this when you should be having children? And it's just like, just because I wouldn't do it doesn't mean I don't believe that other women should have a choice to do
And
it.
that is an amazing thing. Being able to hold 2 opposing ideas in your
It's
head without it
okay.
fucking exploding, that is an amazing thing.
Sure, no, it's okay for other people to have a choice to
Right.
actually make that choice and not to have
Because you have
legislature bullshit.
You have made that choice. And so other people
So
yeah,
it's so
have
fucking
should have the same luxury.
fucking frustrating. But
Amanda in the chat room also says that Guerrilla Gardening is doing a sunflower planting thing this weekend. She also says that everyone should watch Parks and Rec, and I could not disagree more. It's so boring. Don't do it. I just don't.
I don't know.
Sorry,
I don't have TV. I don't know what all
love
these
my
things
best.
are.
Nobody
But
with
no.
a microphone has watched Parks and Rec, so
So I have watched
Sorry,
Parks and Rec
Steven.
because my wife is a huge fan, and she makes me watch it. She's making the huh face, and it's like, this is so stupid.
oh, that's the worst when somebody wants you to watch something that they really like, and this is terrible.
This is so boring. I
Oh
want
my
to kill
god,
myself.
that is kind of terrible. When that happens.
Ooh, shit just got
okay.
really real.
Let's just move on.
Next story.
So let's move on. So in honor of your drunken bowling experience, Petey, I thought we'd highlight some of the crap that conservatives are trying to pass here in Texas and across the country. Just briefly, here in Texas, Representative Jessica Farrar is calling this current legislature, and Texas legislature only meets every 2 years, which is, thank all of the deities for that, because they could do so much more damage if they were like other states. But she calls this current current legislature the most misogynistic we've had in the 21 years she's been serving in the Senate. One law that they are trying to pass through the House is one that will force women to carry fetuses who have medical conditions, which means that they are unable to survive outside the womb. So they will not survive the birth process. What effing purpose does that serve? Why? Why would you do that? What problem does that solve? Giving birth to dead children.
I have 2 babies, and I could not imagine carrying what was basically going to be a child with an expiration date.
That's exactly right.
So many emotions going to carry a baby to term.
Yeah.
And it's really touching because a friend of mine actually had a baby that unfortunately didn't make it. And I don't know why, because I don't ask questions like that. And just knowing that, you know, you're dead. And then the mother too. You could be a dead person walking. You know, just does that include tubal pregnancies? I mean,
See, that's how absurd the whole thing is. The emotions evolved with it to where it's like leaving scars for life, essentially.
I wouldn't be right after that.
Yeah.
And it's the result when you start having legislators making medical decisions.
For you and me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because do the people making these laws even know what a tubal pregnancy is?
I don't.
You know,
I don't think
I don't think they
anyone
do. I
that
have
medical
no idea.
doctors should make medical decisions. I'm kind of a huge fan of that.
Yeah.
Because if you look at this completely secularly, the only reason that you would say no abortion on any level would be because God, and you just can't because God me hard enough to get me on that fucking wagon. Keep your opinion out of my fucking uterus. It does not belong there.
That says it all. So fortunately, Democrats have done a political maneuver to get it out, but it's just going back for review. So they're going to try and push it through again. I just really feel like that this is a let's torture women bill. There are atheists who oppose abortion. I don't really understand their arguments, but there are, I hope that we could all get behind giving birth to dead babies is just stupid. That's not something that needs to happen in this state or anywhere.
Yeah, you can have misguided views about when life begins and what constitutes a person, and you can have a different opinion that I can respect even if I think you're wrong, but nobody can say dead baby in your tummy is a must. I agree. I don't know. I just can't even.
Yeah.
And I don't get an opinion, but
And
I
you know
can't
what?
even.
Fuck that. At the end of birth, you should get the goddamn prize. You get the prize. You get the fucking prize. It is hard. It is fucking painful. Okay? You get the fucking prize.
The prize should not be a dead baby.
Right.
That's what she's
No, that's what I'm
saying.
saying.
I know that's what I'm saying.
Come on, Ferris. Don't Ferris
The
it.
fucking end of 9 months of carrying, even 3 months.
Yeah.
You get the goddamn prize. You get the pot of gold at the end of the fucking rainbow.
Amanda in the chat room notes that my wife is too good for me, and
We all think that
yes,
we all agree.
I agree with that.
Hands down.
Okay. So meanwhile, in North Carolina, a Republican state representative, Jacqueline Schafer.
No relation.
I was like, what the fuck?
The other one was named Schafer too. You didn't notice that? They were both named
was like,
Schafer.
is this like a setup? What
I
are we
was
doing?
like-
Is it
I
like,
was all,
ooh, is this why she's on today?
We're here to publicly shame Heather.
Yeah, bring it
It's
on,
like,
right?
The only reason we said, oh yeah, you should be on the show. is because-
Come today. It's important.
right?
So she has successfully passed legislation in North Carolina to give that state the longest waiting period in the country in order to receive abortion care. You now have to wait 3 days between seeing your doctor and receiving the treatment you are, seeking. She justifies this by saying that it's just like entering into a real estate agreement, and that you should not be.
It's a cooling off period.
Yeah. But I think that there is a good conversation to be had, even if briefly there. Schafer says that waiting periods are important so that you can have time to get all the information that you need, whatever, to make an informed decision, and you're not just making a snap decision in the heat of an emotional situation. Does anyone think there's truth to that?
No.
I think that she's still in the whole, like, oh, it's just young teenage girls that don't know what they're doing and they have never even thought about what they're going to do now, instead of the bigger picture of there's actual people in need that have thought about all the different options and, money-wise or school-wise or whatever, housing-wise, whatever their situation is, it's to them, it's specific to them. It's not like, 3 days is really going to make a difference. Like, what, the lottery? They're going to play the lottery that day or what? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
I think this is a tactic to inconvenience them long enough to deter them from getting an abortion. That's fucking
especially for low-income women who may have to travel long distances to get it, and now they have to travel twice, or they have to pay for hotel rooms. That, to me,
which is also hard to do in secret if you're trying to do it in secret.
To go to get
and to take time off work.
Yep, that's exactly what it is to me. Amanda in the chat room makes a great point. She says, let's apply that same logic to buying a gun. Heads would explode in Texas if you suggested that you had to wait 3 days to get the gun that you just bought.
You had to actually wait. Back in the day, they took it away. You don't have to wait anymore. You used to. And they decided that wasn't necessary
And I will
anymore.
tell you right now that the 2 weeks before you get the fucking guts up to take that pregnancy test, you have thought of every single scenario. You've thought whether or not you can afford it. You've thought whether or not you've been in a relationship long enough to have and I had babies that I planned, and I still thought about all that stuff. And how come a 3-day waiting period is long enough to decide whether or not you have an abortion for these young girls that, don't have all the information, but it's long enough to decide, what, I'm just going to raise this human being. Everything will work itself out.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, no, it'll be fine.
Yeah, it's asinine to think that anyone going to an abortion clinic the first time hasn't put 3 days worth of thought into it.
At least.
So, so like Heather said, it's a stall tactic. It's not give us 3 days to give you all the information. It's give us 3 days to give you all the propaganda that we want to give you.
You know, in Texas that they make you listen to the heartbeat. Yeah.
Which doesn't sound like anything. I mean, it sounds like nothing.
And there's no reason for it.
There's no medical reason for it.
The bullshit is that there's no reason for it. They're trying to tug on your heartstrings.
Kitty Scary is having like a complete mental breakdown in the chat.
She'll do that from time to time.
It's amazing. She says, I don't think I can act it out sufficiently.
I can't wait to meet her.
You want me to read it?
She says, what the fuck? I just bought a house and I have 2 kids and those things are not the same.
No, that was good. That was good, Christian.
Yeah, okay, thank you. All right, so we can do maybe 1 or 2 more stories. Do we want to do the play, the creationism thing, or the how to make your wife submit to authority?
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun.
See, that one sounds, well...
You don't
want to talk? Are you kind of into that?
No, it's hilarious.
What do we want to do?
It doesn't matter.
Someone vote.
Oh, we turned into a democracy all of a sudden?
Wait, when did this happen?
I know, right?
I vote for submission.
Yeah, I think it was just going down.
That's
it's
not
fine.
something you can vote for.
And we're all going to circle jerk each other on it anyway, so.
All right, well, I'm going to take my pants off.
You're wearing pants today?
I know, right? I like the foreplay sometimes. So I put this in the show sheet because I thought it would be fun, and by fun, I mean rage-inducing, to hear what a Christian has to say on matters relating to God and marriage. The author of this piece is named Caleb. He's an American Baptist who is living in the Ukraine. Sorry, living in Ukraine. We don't say the Ukraine anymore. We used to, but I'm old.
5 years older than Bill Nye.
Which we've...
I am younger than Bill Nye, you motherfucker. So he is over in Ukraine. Fishing for converts. What I get from reading about him. His article is entitled "How to Make Your Wife Submit to Your Authority." Before we even hear what Caleb has to say, though, Does anyone have any good ideas on how men can get their wives to submit to their godly authority? Is there any anyone have any their own atheist tips on this?
I try begging.
Does that work?
No.
No.
See, every time he gets a beer, I get a beer. So no, we're one for one.
Dry drowning?
We're like here.
No.
is it?
Dry drowning?
What is that?
I know.
Waterboarding.
Is that,
Does that work?
Oh.
I'm open to trying it. The only thing I had was find a woman who is a BDSM person who is really into submission, and there you go.
Oh, you mean like the real answer?
Yeah. It's not as fun, but it's more accurate. Okay. So he begins his article saying, let's not beat around the bush. The Bible commands our wives to submit to us. Simple commands, however, are not always easy to follow because women have difficulty understanding simple commands. Am I right? Oh, I'm so glad I'm on this side of the table.
I
so
just
far
learned
away.
how to use this microphone. Knocked it over 4 times trying to learn how to speak into it.
She was a mess before Ryan fixed it.
Okay, so step 1, according to Caleb, is become her best friend. While God's word commands women to submit to their husbands, it never tells men that it's their job to make sure their wives submit to them. Don't think for a second that you need to lay down the law and show her who's boss. As a husband, your job is to love like Christ loves. One of the best ways you can do that is simply by being a friend to your wife. Make sure she knows that you value her companionship. Find ways to relax together and engage her in heartfelt conversation. It will be easier and more pleasant for her to submit to you as a friend than for her to submit to you as a harsh master.
You know what? I liked all the titles before I read all the bullshit underneath. It was like, be her best friend. I was like, right? It was be the man she can respect. I was like, right? I'm like, this is all really great shit if it's not a fucking means to an end, you jerk off. Like, if it's not a manipulation tactic.
Yeah, I had that same reaction. I was like, be her best friend. I was like, you should be friends with your spouse.
That's so nice. Oh, no, it's not nice
Right?
at all.
I'm like, oh, wait, you're a douchebag.
Never
You
mind.
can trick her into thinking that doing what you say is pleasant. Like, what?
Arturo tells me that all the time. You just think you have a choice, but we're doing what I want to do all the time. I'm like, really? When did that happen? I'm so lost.
Oh, I'm just going to have a beer.
All right. Okay, I'll just sit here and drink and listen to good music on vinyl. It's good vinyl.
He's in the chat room, right? I mean, you know that, right?
Oh, yeah. He better be. While we're watching sports ball.
Amanda notes that this is also a textbook part of spousal abuse, right? So take responsibility for your mistakes and hers. Here's the real quality of a man. If you make a mistake, you'd better admit it and fix it.
Okay.
If she makes a mistake, you need to fix that too.
Women love that.
But you don't have to say anything.
I can understand where he's going with this. Pick your battles.
I'm not
Toward
sure.
the end there.
Well, hold on. Let me finish because I
Just
don't.
kidding. Nothing. Go on.
You know what I'm talking about. That time when she made a poor judgment call about buying a new kitchen gadget, which promptly broke the following week.
Oh my God, I love kitchen gadgets.
I know, but I love that he picked a kitchen gadget.
know,
right?
And it's just like, oh.
It's because we love them so much.
That's
I
where I
can't believe it wasn't a
belong.
vacuum cleaner.
Right? What if the other? Hey, he was like, what should I do? What should I do? I'm going to go with kitchen gadget. It's more broad,
Even though it's tempting to say, I told you so, instead, suck it up and fix it for her without saying a word. She'll love you for it, and next time she'll be more likely to listen to your advice.
That never happens, by the way.
We never care what you say.
I'm gonna do it again.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
As soon as you're done fixing it, I'm gonna fucking break it again.
Right.
I still can't use an automatic can opener. I can't do it.
I can get on board with when you're right, act like you've been right before and don't, rub somebody's nose in it.
Can you?
Because I do.
But that's the right thing to do, though.
Right. And, it's not a means to some really sadistic end.
Exactly. Instead of going into this whole, you see, it's like,
Right.
whatever.
I don't know. But my biggest thing with this one is that he has responsibility for his own actions, but then he also takes responsibility for her actions. And the woman in this relationship has no responsibilities whatsoever other than going to shop for kitchen devices.
You're totally selling me on this lifestyle. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, that sounds amazing.
He's got to get into heaven somehow, you know?
Okay, so the next thing he says is become a man worthy of her respect. Which, again, to Heather's point, it sounds like a good thing to do.
But go on.
I'm talking about things that matter here. Take the initiative to be a spiritual leader in your family and lead by example. Be regular in your study of God's word and personal prayer time. If you have kids, make sure you have a regular time when you can read and teach God's word to them too. Don't be lazy about your honey-do list or anything else for that matter. Be known for honesty and faithfulness at home and work. I mean, it's about tricking people into doing what you say.
I hate the honeydew list. A guy at work talks about that shit all the time. Oh, my honeydew list was so long this weekend. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Your life is like that. That's, just like, oh, that sucks. I don't know.
Kitty Scary in the chat room says, I do what I want. All right. So the next one is pray for her. I don't want to underestimate this one. Prayer will change her, but before it does, it will change your attitude toward her.
She needs to be changed.
Yeah,
She's
exactly.
not okay the way she is.
Obviously.
She needs to be changed.
Someone needs to address that shit.
Yeah. Can't
Pray
be
for
fucking acting like that.
Pray for your wife daily. Pray for her spiritual growth. Pray for the Lord to show you how you can love her better. Is your wife broken?
Obviously, we're women. We're broken. That's
I'm
how we
saying,
come
like,
right out the Cracker Jack box.
If your wife has thoughts and ideas of her own, God can fix that.
Like our kitchen gadgets. We're broken.
If you just ask nicely, God will. You can pray that shit all the way away.
Pray that free throat away.
Exactly. All right, this is an important one. Give her time with God. If you have young kids in the house, this is vital. Let your wife know that you want her to have a time every day when she can meditate on God's word and pray. Help her carve out that time by taking over her responsibilities. Her responsibilities are not important. Long enough so that she can be uninterrupted for at least 30 minutes. This might mean...
she gets 30
30
minutes.
minutes. 30 minutes. What if I want to be alone with God and eat a fucking sandwich?
You gotta choose.
I mean, even people with jobs get an hour lunch break.
This might mean you need to take the kids outside or just make sure you're around to keep things calm for a while. And I think this is important because I can't stress enough that you have to touch up your brainwashing. That shit will wear off. And if you let people sit and think long enough about the bullshit that you've told them.
That's why it's only 30 minutes.
Right.
They're like, we gotta cut that shit down.
I'm going to tell you right now that if you take my kids outside, leave me alone for 30 minutes, alone with God is not what I'm doing.
I don't even care about the rest of this bullshit.
I went on, actually, because... fuck you for making me read that one. And then 2, at the bottom, it said, I was kind of confused because it was like, give yourself up for your wife. Love her like Christ. I'm like, none of that shit sounds like submission. What exactly do you want from her? I needed to know because I'm sick in the head. And so I clicked on a link at the bottom that said, what does submission look like in a marriage? And I said... there it is.
There it is. So do tell us, what does submission look like?
Well, from a woman's point of view, we are a helper. And a helper, quote,
help meet, in fact. Okay.
And a helper can't be a good helper to the leader if we are not submissive.
That's true.
Oh, that's what's going on.
Because seriously, if you're like talking too much, and I'm just like, I'm trying to get things done, and you are having ideas about those things,
You're telling me how to do them right, and it's pissing me off.
I
You
do
just need
not.
to do other stuff to support this.
I do not care if I'm fixing the refrigerator wrong. I don't want to hear you telling me that I'm doing it wrong.
I assumed it meant like sandwiches.
No, to be honest, there wasn't anything good. It was, it was a lot of what the men. I guess the original passage also doesn't say anything about a woman having to submit. The original quoted passage does not use the word submit.
It kind of ended like real flat, like, well, if this doesn't work, then sorry, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, just kind of like, these are just things. To where
Yeah,
it's just,
and this isn't a
what?
guarantee. I'm like, oh, fuck, it's not magic? Well, damn.
To where he just kind of like bailed out real fast at the end with just a little bit of a summary. It's
Good
just
luck, fucker.
just see if this works. Tell me how it goes.
But yeah, in the what does submission look like in a marriage, I have to say that they didn't have any good examples. All they were doing was contradicting themselves. This is how to get your wife to submit, but these are all the ways we don't ask her, force her, make her submit. And submission by definition isn't what they're describing women to do. Because they need a dictionary, not a Bible.
All right, let's shut this down now. Thank you for listening to Atheist Airwaves, sponsored by Corpus Christi Atheists and the South Texas Coalition of Reason. If you would like to compliment, complain, or make a suggestion, please write to us at god@atheistairwaves.com. Thank you to Tombstone to the Dead Man for our outro music. If you would like to contribute to our show, and all of you people in the chat room will get to hear us talk about dead people in a second in our post-show, patreon.com/Atheist Airwaves, and you will get access to those things, probably. See you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Being a skeptic means so much more than being an atheist. And until you accept that, you won't relate to this. The cognitive dissonance that you experience is when there's things you claim to believe in but ain't living it. Most of you say you are the type to question everything until I hear the conspiracy theories that you echoing. And when I scrutinize the things you try to say are lies, expose your sources as suspect, I see your logic dies. Some still believe in pseudosciences, engage in special pleading when theists use the exact same reasoning. I've even seen atheists use arguments from ignorance and seem hard-pressed to tell me exactly just what the difference is. A skeptic without the ability to analyze is just as bad as a theist, because he'll probably accept the lie. Just as long as it verifies all his biases, applying it to his knowledge pool, and then he's diving in. So I'm not saying that some conspiracies do not exist. I'm just saying that a lot of them are some bullshit. So I'ma call a spade no matter who asserts it. Nobody's perfect, and just one lie that it's all perverted. Bring down the curtains on that sad display. The only ways to question yourself and all the things you say. Start the day, and maybe we can rise above and be examples for others that emulate, and that's the way we win this battle. So this is where I'm making my stand, and now regardless who don't like it or how they get mad, see why the rest of y'all capitulate and go with the plan. I'll be beating on this wall until I'm breaking my hand. So listen while I state official policy. No matter how I'm threatened with hell, then never silence me. I know that you don't see this as imperative, but I refuse to lose and let the stupid frame the narrative.